till mark+josh podcast.
So we're finally done with the Puerto Rico video, our first Puerto Rico video.
Thank God.
Thank God. Give me some daps on that.
It was power, man.
Today I wanted to talk about what's going on to the people in Puerto Rico. The kind of the bigger picture, right? Because the mainstream media will have you believe that Hurricane Maria is solely responsible for all of the devastation, economic and otherwise, that is currently taking place on the island. And we know that the story goes much deeper than that. Hurricane Maria was to use the shitty adage, that what was it, the straw? Can we even talk about the straw that broke the camel's back? I don't, is like a biblical reference? Can we?
I don't have a lot of experience with straws, but
or camels.
Yeah. Good point.
I can't tell you, I've never seen a camel.
Do camels carry straw?
But what is it about the straw that's breaking his back?
Well, it's like the one extra little piece.
Is it the one tiny little? That's kind of. Right? I guess that's kind of true when we're talking about Puerto Rico, right?
But is there straw where camels are? Like, don't camels live in the desert? And I would assume like there's not a lot of straw. I think of big burly men in flannel when I think of straw.
I do too. Did they have flannel back in biblical days? Were the dudes making the pyramid? Were they like dressed like lumberjacks? You think? They
probably were dressed like grunge, like around the waist, Eddie Vedder style.
They had like a sweater around the waist type of deal. I like that. But what, I think for us to start on this, I think we need to talk about what our approach was going to Puerto Rico.
Sure.
Trying to how we were going to approach reporting, because you and I are traditionally comedians. We're filmmakers, yeah. But we of the comedic variety.
Sure.
And what I've noticed is that people, I don't know if it's a nowadays thing or it's just an always been thing, but I find that people have a difficult time understanding the multifaceted nature of our interests. Because people are like, why are you going to Puerto Rico? Why? What made you want to do that? It's like, what do you think I am? A dumb, stupid, uninformed moron? Just because I do silly stuff. We do silly stuff.
Yeah.
We do silly stuff out of necessity because I'm so well informed. I know the evil of man is way more fucking evil than you think it is. I know what's going down, and the dark heart of man is dark as fuck. And I need to cut loose. I need to be silly, and I recommend everybody be silly sometimes, because when you're reading like The Intercept or Democracy Now! Or any of those very serious news outlets, it's serious all the time in such a way where it becomes satirical. It almost becomes like, dude, or you just wake up in the morning and go socialism. Like, do you act like a fucking human being every once in a while? Because after a while, people stop listening to that. If you're all you want to talk about. Like if you're bringing the friend to the bar and we see some girls, and he immediately shouts, Bin Laden couldn't have penetrated American airspace. 9/11 was an inside. It's like, dude, chill. Like you're not wrong.
Just relax.
But relax. Have a good time. Take a shot. Do whatever Miguel said in his Skywalker video.
Pop a cat.
Just take Miguel's advice. Miguel's a smooth R&B artist. I wish I could be him. I would trade. I would sell my soul. Whatever I have to do, bomb a village even to be Miguel for just a year.
So much swag.
Not like an old man Miguel. I'm talking like the Miguel, the one you're looking at right now. I want to be that Miguel.
So dope.
And so we act silly, but we're human beings. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Finish the thought.
Because it's the same criticism. It's the criticism that the mainstream media always cast on celebrities, like Tupac, for instance. Tupac had songs like "Dear Mama" and "Keep Your Head Up," which was a sort of an ode to the single mother or the female that is struggling, and she needs some kind of inspiration. She's got a son that she needs to feed and doesn't quite know how that's going to work out because of lack of education. Whatever. It's for young struggling mothers, and it is about female empowerment. And then he has songs like "Wonder Why They Call You Bitch."
Yep.
But you have to understand about Tupac is that Tupac studied ballet. He also rolled with straight G's in California that will literally he had shooters that will blow your head off. I mean, take a look at the way he died. Should have had a little more.
Case in point.
but he lived that life. But he has a lot of dynamics to his personality.
Yeah.
And we all do. And there's this weird thing going on where you have to be so niche that like people only want to see you for that thing. Like if you're the skateboard guy and then all of a sudden you want to get into jet skiing. It's like, whoa. You can't do both. You're the skateboard guy.
That happens all the time in skateboarding. I mean, it's in life because I think it's like it's a moment of like when you're talking with your friend, you're also serious and joking at the same time. We do both at the same time. The meaning of life isn't found in being super serious. It's not found in being ridiculous, but it's found in both. Like we made that fart video for Cav. Dude, it's ridiculous, but the genuine feeling of loving Cav. I love the guy. He's a good man. Like
it was just fun. It was just absolute fun. If you're somebody who is involved in serious stuff like politics or trying to change the world for the better or what have you, you got to cut loose sometimes. You can't be a stick in the ass all the time because it'll break your soul and you'll become so you'll be such a one-note pony that eventually people stop paying attention to you if you're the guy that just wants to talk about 9/11 conspiracies every single day.
Yeah.
Or the guy that wants to talk about how the government is an evil, tyrannical police state crazy mess. And yeah, dude, it is. And we can definitely fight for that. But you can also just shut up and relax and watch this Theo Vaughn special on Netflix.
It's fucking great.
Just chill, my friend.
I feel like we have to say the fart video. It's one of our videos, and we took our friend Cav to listen to his farts on a $70,000 stereo. That's all we got to say about it. And I feel like
we got to pull back because I got to cut the wheel and bring us back to Puerto Rico because right now we're way off.
So
we're over in Risky Reels. We're supposed to be in Lucky Landing.
We got to get back. But more to the point, right? So we talk about that because Puerto Rico is very serious. What happened there is very real. These people very much are suffering.
Very much so. And so I have some Puerto Rican friends. My mom dated a Puerto Rican guy named Jose Rosario for, I would say, about sort of a decade, about a decade. I think early 2000s is when they broke up, but he lived with her for a while, even though they were broken up, which was real weird. I digress. And so I had some, Jason Ortiz is Julian's brother. I've known Julian since I was in high school. Him and I were really close. He had discussed going back to Puerto Rico several times. He had told us about family members that were in big trouble out there,
grandma,
and how his grandma was left stranded out there for months with no power and no help. Yeah. So we knew that there was some serious things going on the island. We knew that it wasn't being reported appropriately by the mainstream news outlets, and we felt like it was time to do something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to tell meaningful stories that matter, stories that are going to, impact people in a real way, not just farts and not just, nonsense. So certainly I looked at it. You as filmmakers, as journalists, you never want to fully admit it, but everything you see before you look at as some sort of an opportunity. And that might seem opportunistic, but I don't really know. I think maybe opportunistic is a stupid thing to call someone because everyone's opportunistic. But I think the point is that if you look at the Venn diagram, if you look at what I really want to do, I guess, in chasing my ego, chasing my dream, it aligned with what's happening in Puerto Rico. So I could serve my ego and I could serve other people at the same time. And that is the real trick. Because it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything humanitarian. But in many ways, I'm attempting to.
You're sort of breaking even morally, right? Like you got one and the other. It's like yin and yang.
And it feels great. It feels better when those two things align, when your motivations, your goals that are leading towards fulfilling your ego, when those things align with, oh my God, but this could also be an opportunity to help a lot of people. Right. And so we approached it that way, and we knew that the opportunity was coming to go on the island and go with Jason Ortiz, who is the president of the Connecticut Puerto Rican Agenda. And we looked at that as an opportunity to be able to tell a story about Puerto Rico that no one else was telling, because the mainstream media goes there and they don't have any roots.
They don't go into
the island. They go there and they wear a sports jacket or a button down, and they talk in a really serious manner. Can we talk about how journalists, like,
dude,
they're so reverent to a point of just like, dude, what the fuck,
humans
man?
don't
Act like
talk
a
like
fucking
that.
human
Yeah.
being, will you? Stop. And today, in San Juan, for which there would be to whom. It's like, dude, can you just stop?
So gay.
Can you fucking cut the shit for a minute, Johnny? Fucking $5 words. Just talk like a human and give us the human experience instead of this dreadful, serious voice. And today on the island, we watch as the people suffer in the wake of Hurricane Maria. ABC nonsense logo
Coming up at 7, Chippy's the Clown is coming.
So the media is not serving. It just, in this particular story about Puerto Rico, the media was not serving the best interests of the people on the island. So we were like, what we can do, and the other thing was too that we didn't want to tell a sad tale. Like,
no way.
This is another story about the sad brown people on Puerto Rico, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to come with a message of, no, that's simply not the truth. And in fact, we saw movements because of Jason. He schooled us on the different movements that were happening on Puerto Rico currently. The sustainable farming, pursuing strategies and the means to get clean water,
right. Solar
energy
all that
instead of
stuff.
being reliant on fossil fuels and all this natural gas fracking nonsense bullshit. So we knew that there were these movements happening and they were not being talked about in the mainstream press to the extent that I felt comfortable with. Like, people be like, well, the New York Times mentioned it in passing. Okay, whatever. But you're not trumpeting that. What you're doing is you're just, every time it's an older Puerto Rican who is sad, and it's just like, the media depicts Puerto Rico in such a way that the typical American reading or watching about Puerto Rico must think that it's just a bunch of Puerto Rican people looking out the window crying.
Right.
Just like, just sad all day long, crying 24 hours a day. And it's simply not the truth. No. People are putting their energy towards rebuilding the island already. So we wanted to tell that story. So we went, and when we got to Puerto Rico that very first day, Mark and I realized that we had to reassess our goals. So we went down to the island with... We went down to the island. Let me state what our thesis was, if you will, which I'm going to break down because it's already so stupid, and it's one of the critical flaws with journalism. So Mark and I wanted to know if the people's recovery, because that's what they call it, the people in sustainable farming and so forth, if those people can rebuild Puerto Rico. Now, that is a really stupid fucking thing to say, because that's like saying, can Uncle Sam overcome the mounting, I don't know, debt or whatever? Will the United States be able to gain its control, regain its control in the economic forums, or just any of that bullshit? It's too abstract, because then it's, well, what is Puerto Rico? Who is Uncle Sam? Think about that, how abstract it is, because it takes away from any accountability. And that's what journalism typically does, is journalists go down there with some stupid fucking headline, can the people of Puerto Rico regain control of their destiny? I don't know. Some people probably can, and then some people probably fucking can't. So what kind of stupid thing is that, to try to assess Puerto Rico as though every single person, individual, makes up this thing called Puerto Rico? There are people on the island who are fighting back, and they are fighting for their sovereignty. And then there are people who are just like, I'm fucking on welfare and I don't want to fucking work and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just like in any society.
Yeah.
In America, you have that. Those are two different sides of the spectrum, and every single culture, every single race, every single country has those things. So you can't put all of the people in Puerto Rico under one umbrella. It's just fucking stupid.
Well, and it takes away from the fact that when we got there, they had been without power some places for 9 months and without good water. And guess what? They're dealing with it. So whether they can build or rebuild or whatever, it's already happened. It happened 1 hour after the hurricane stopped, and they had to... I'm just going to hold this.
Mark screwed up again with this mic.
This mic is killing me,
dude.
John. But yeah, so my point as it just got destroyed was these people are dealing with it already. Whether like they have solar energy or whatever, they have to deal with tomorrow. And they have to get their lives together because we didn't do anything. We're not doing anything. Nobody did anything. These people had to do it themselves.
So when we got to the island, don't start fiddling with it. As soon as that broke, for some reason I got mad at you. I was like, God damn it, Mark. Why is my mic? There's never an issue with my mic. So with Puerto Rico, when we got there, we knew that we couldn't approach the project in that sort of mind frame. Basically, what we had to do was shut the fuck up, ask the people questions, try to ask the best questions that we could, considering that we're two white gringo fucking dopes. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, and so my whole thing was, who the fuck am I? I don't know what's going on there. So what I have to do is step back and try to talk to the people on the island and let those people tell me what's going on, and not try to inflect my own fucking stupid narrative
and or the stuff you've read and studied, maybe, like all the
or
books
these statistics or nonsense. Like, throw all that shit away. Yeah. This is how things work in reality. Mm-hmm. And we quite quickly realized that we didn't really know what the fuck we were talking about or anything. At all. We just knew nothing. So just step back
at all
and use your camera, try to ask questions, try to have empathy at all times, and really try to feel what's happening here.
And I don't want to undersell. We studied for weeks. Not that they were the smartest men, but we put a lot of work and effort into it, and we researched the
fuck out of the island.
We completely were wrong.
I would say that we weren't completely wrong. That's probably a bit of an overshot. I just think that it's different when you talk to people and you read a statistic, because a statistic is not a person. You can't feel for a statistic.
Or to understand how bad the situation really is. It's hard to put into words what we saw and what we felt while we were there. You can sum it up however you want and kind of maybe get close, but it's much more powerful,
So let's do a quick breakdown on what's really plaguing the island. And we can start in 1898 when America invaded the island and then quickly took control of their resources, made it illegal to have a Puerto Rican flag. Then they started to try to screw around with what languages would be taught in the schools. So they got rid of Spanish and tried to teach all these kids English, and basically just robbing them of their culture, robbing them of their resources, their cultural identity. So now when you fast forward to now, what you have is a group of people who have lost their sovereignty. And what I mean by that is major corporations, they have taken over all of the resources on the island. And what you need to understand about the resources on the island, what you need to understand about Puerto Rico, is that you might think that it's just, when I talk to people, it's hard because sometimes I want to fucking yell at them. People that ask stupid fucking questions that are like, are they in huts? Or they don't have anything there. They think of them as a sad type of people who don't have anything. And that thought right there makes me fucking sad, because the island of Puerto Rico, it's God's grocery store. Every single fucking fruit or vegetable grows on that island. Fucking say it. I promise you it probably grows there, right? Their coffee, their tobacco, their sugar at one time, which I think we fucking took all that shit.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing. But the point is that all of these resources, these commodities that generate crazy money, they all exist on the island. It's just that America came and gave that to corporations. And then you have right now an economy there that I don't even know if it's appropriate to call what Puerto Rico has an economy. According to several people that we spoke with, at least half of the island is unemployed.
Yeah.
Half.
Or working
half.
under the table.
50%. Yeah. Half. Yes, you heard me right. Fucking half. And people are like, how can that be? But we asked so many people, and they were not blown away when I said, hey, I've been reading that about half the island is unemployed. And people will be like, shit, it could be more.
Well, it's because they all
That's
work, they work
crazy.
under the table because the taxes are high or whatever. And I get it. Like they don't get a lot back for their tax dollar.
And they don't get paid. The wages there are dog shit.
Half of here.
So, and it's expensive to live there because of all the taxes. Their sales tax is the highest of any American territory, state, territory, whatever. So you're getting robbed. And sort of the thing it's the funniest thing in a satire sense, but it's one of the saddest things in a very real life sense, which is the taxes that we impose on them through the Jones Act, where basically from what I've heard, because I asked a few people, there could be a situation where a fruit or vegetable truly leaves Puerto Rico. It was grown there. It leaves Puerto Rico, ends up in the United States, then it comes back with a sticker on it, and they sell it back to the people of the island at a jacked up fucking price. So really think about it. So really think about what's going on to these people before you cast judgment on how high the unemployment rate is, on how it's easy for the mainstream media to depict Puerto Ricans as a sad brown people because they've fucking broken, the United States has destroyed the economy. It's easy to frame it that way because you're the fucking assholes that are doing the damage to the island. It's like, yeah, you destroyed their economy. They have no sovereignty. Think about buying a vegetable that came from your island at a crazy high price when you look at it and go, Jesus, like I could have just grown this. Right.
Well, their reality is completely separate from ours. That's why when we look at Puerto Rico as Americans, we're like, oh, it's America technically. It's a territory. And, I'm going to use my judgments based on my experiences to judge the people of Puerto Rico. But it's like, dude, their reality is totally different. You can go to the store and it's right there. There's places we went to in Orcovy where we couldn't get down the guy's driveway with our car, so he had to come up with a 4x4 truck.
We're talking about mountains, real mountains. We drove up mountains where our ears were popping.
Yeah.
I'm talking crazy mountains. Like
Beautiful.
I'd never been on a real mountain. Beautiful. So lush. And on these single roads, like we were going up mountains on these skinny, tiny roads that are made for a horse and buggy. And when you turn the corners, if you turn the corners and you fuck up, you could be flying off a hill. Yeah. Was it Thelma and Louise?
Yeah, Thelma and Louise style. Yeah.
Like truly that kind of depiction.
And you have to beep the horn around every corner. That was so ridiculous. I was so nervous driving because it's like you hear like you're driving and you hear like beep, 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 and you're like, oh God, I got to get over because I'm about to die. It's terrifying.
So
but everything is different there. I mean, it's not just the roads, right? It's like the way they eat, the way they live, the interactions they have with each other, how they get power, how they get food, it's just their lives are completely different. And Americans don't appreciate that. And so we judge them based on our preconceived notions. And it's like, dude, you're completely wrong. There could be no different place in America. Puerto Rico is fucking Garden of Eden.
Yeah. And that's why America understood why they needed to take control of it. I mean, there's a lot there and it's a magical island. And unfortunately, I think that America and the corporations have taken advantage of this opportunity post Maria to really buy up the island and get people off the island because of the number one. I mean, a lot of people talk about the tax haven thing, which is true, bringing corporations, giving them these crazy tax benefits and making it basically just an island for the rich. Definitely, there is a certain truth to that, for sure, 100%. But I really looked at it because we were in Orocovy and because we talked to farmers. I really looked at the island from an agricultural standpoint in a sense that I looked at all the commodities and I looked at which companies were on the island of Puerto Rico. So if you really want to know how perfect the soil is in Puerto Rico, Monsanto owns a large swath of the arable land there. So most of the agrochemical companies, they are in Puerto Rico. Yeah. All those genetically modified seeds.
That's where they're tested.
That's where they're tested. That's where they're coming out of. Yep. That's how powerful the soil is in Puerto Rico.
I've never seen it. If you were ever hungry, it's so funny. It's like, hey, guy, you're hungry? Just step out of your car, walk to the grass. That tree right there, it's got fruit in it. And that was everywhere. Mangoes. Oh, you want some plantain? They're right. Like, it's just, it's sprouting fruit.
I had never been to a place, like a land, where the whole thing's a supermarket.
It's unbelievable.
There's just food around you. So that's what I fear that corporations are going to take advantage of this even more so. And we spoke to one of the farmers there named Josue, which is actually Joshua.
Yeah, and by the way,
I mispronounced it about 70 times, like a stupid ass. Called him Josu.
And he's like, no, it's Josue. And he's like, it is Joshua.
And then I'm like, my name's Joshua. That's what I mean.
That's the universe.
That's the universe. And we admit that stuff. But if you go to a place and you have a reasonable amount of intelligence, if you just let the people speak and the footage that you capture there, just let that. Don't inflect your own nonsense too much on things. Certainly connect the dots when they're there and when they're visible, but don't try to be a hero and think that you are putting this value on something when you're not. It's the people, it's the setting, it's just trying to talk to the people and get the truth.
Well, it's just anybody who goes there, your personal value is so much smaller than the value of where you're going, of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Puerto Rico's value is so big. It's just like let it be, man. Like it doesn't need your, and I love Anderson Cooper, but it doesn't need your Anderson Cooper sort of, inflections. It just let it be.
But then I think that sort of reveals the true agenda of the mainstream media, which is to not tell you what's really going on. It's to give you some pretty stupid face who makes everything seem fine and okay. And the people in Puerto Rico, they didn't really get any help at all. So I think a lot of people may think, a lot of people in mainland America, that they might think that, okay, Puerto Rico, they got some aid, maybe it was bad, but it wasn't too bad. Well, dude, it was devastatingly bad.
Well, not to discount the people who tried outside of, like the Mark Cubans with Pitbull and stuff. Like, people did stuff. Crazy Legs with Red Bull.
People did things, but the United States government was pretty fucking negligent during this whole thing.
100%.
When I asked everybody that I met in Puerto Rico, I asked them, did the government help you after Hurricane Maria? And they fucking laughed at me. They laughed at me. Did they help us? Are you fucking serious?
Multiple times, not even an answer, just a laugh.
Just a laugh.
That tells you everything.
That tells you everything. They just laughed at me. No, they were not giving any help.
And these aren't cynical people. They aren't mean people. These aren't people who hate. They genuinely thought that was a funny question.
Yeah.
That's how absurd it was.
Absolutely. And that's when you knew, like, wow, people were left here to die.
Yeah.
Talking to several people, some of the people who, specifically Jason's sister, who's in the healthcare industry as a nurse's aide, I believe, she told me that so many of the deaths that happened post-Hurricane Maria were due to the simple fact of, like, power was lost and medications needed to be in the refrigerator, needed to be kept cold, or machines or devices that the older people on the island needed to stay alive. They couldn't get to those things because they had no power. Things that just are ridiculous. Like, if your dad died because they couldn't get power for a machine that was keeping him alive, I think you'd be pretty fucking pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when there's just no reason for that at all. The island of Puerto Rico, number one, is not very big. It takes, what did it take, 3-4 hours to drive around pretty much the whole thing? Size of Rhode Island, basically.
It's
several million people. After the mass exodus because of Maria, who knows how many people are on the island now, but the estimates had been the official, this is official, like 3 million, right?
Right. That's
somewhere 3 million. Basically the population of, like, Connecticut. So the island is not this. Now, keep in mind, like we said, there are mountains, there are things that are difficult to get access to. But if you just pooled your resources and got some helicopters there, all I'm saying is if we can try to take over countries in the Middle East, we probably could have gave some aid to the people of Puerto Rico.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You're sending in tanks and all this stuff. It's like, dude, you could just send in helicopters. You could drop things.
Get to all those hard-to-reach communities.
All these hard-to-reach. I'm not buying for 1 second that island was so difficult to traverse that people had to die in the thousands. That's just fucking bullshit. It's not true. It's just not true. The island's not that big.
No. Not even.
If you want to help every single individual on that island in the United States government, you're the most powerful, wealthiest country that's ever existed to our knowledge. And thousands of people die over stupid shit that should have just been prevented by the allocation of resources. Send people, send however many. And they're like, we do. But it's like, well, then why is everybody laughing at us when we ask them if they're getting help? It's just not people were left to die in Puerto Rico, and so when I started to realize that, and when Mark started to realize that, when we're talking to people who were telling us that people on the mountains in Oricovie, they told us that they could hear their cars. The wind was so powerful that it was moving their vehicles.
They would smash them up against
the house that they were in.
And the mangoes would hit the house too, because that'd be sailing through. So it
hear
sounded
the
like
mangoes
mortar cells
smashing into their home. They heard so there were mudslides. So these people are on serious mountains. So they're thinking that their home is going to get thrown off a cliff, basically.
Just slide down the mountain.
Down. These are people with children, young kids, and it just changes everything for you. You realize that this is not. It took me out of my filmmaking mode where I'm like, holy shit, like this is heavier than I expected. It was a revelation about how serious all this stuff is.
Yeah.
How serious it is if you're going to report, if you're going to make the claim that reporting and information can change our reality and the way we perceive it for the good in a real tangible way, then you gotta see things the way that we saw them, I think.
Yeah. You have to.
So when someone's crying in front of you and they're telling you that they thought that they were going to die, and then they go on to tell you that people did die in the mountains, people starved to death in the mountains because people couldn't get down to the town because the roads are blocked with trees and mudslides and nonsense, and it fucks with you in a real way, and in sort of a positive way too, because now you understand. Oh, I have a responsibility. I had a responsibility, but then you're like, you really have a fucking responsibility. This is way bigger than you and your stupid reporting. This is tons of people who are dying, and there's childhoods at stake and friendship, like lives. There's so many things at stake here that in a way that you've never seen before.
And that's not even talking about all the cuts to everything, the school closings. This is just a hurricane, and on top of that, they've added additional issues they have to deal with because they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of tax money to spend on Puerto Rico.
And if you want to think about, okay, why should I care about Puerto Rico? If you really want to know why you should care about Puerto Rico, know this. What's happening in Puerto Rico with the austerity measures?
Where's it going?
It's coming to the United States.
Is it?
Take a look at how much debt the U.S. is in and start to think about what's happening there in Puerto Rico and what's going to happen here. Because I promise you, that shit's coming for us, okay? And going to that protest, getting tear gas for no fucking reason. The cops were just fucking tyrannical bullies. They did not. There was no reason for them to deploy tear gas on us like that. That came out of fucking nowhere.
Do you want to get into this? Like, do you want to get into the story of this?
We can get into the story of this, but I'm trying to get to my point here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is that when you look at the government in Puerto Rico tear gassing its people, and you think that that's so far-fetched and that's such a crazy reality that's not happening in America. It is. It's happening in urban neighborhoods, like in Baltimore after the Ferguson stuff. It happens. And It happens because of the discontent within the population. And the discontent stems from the fact of the debt. Because what does the debt do? It cuts the social safety net. Mm-hmm. It cuts education. It cuts labor. It makes you a servant to the state.
Raises taxes.
Yeah. It makes it impossible for you to achieve prosperity in that society because of the tyranny and oppression the government's imposing on you with austerity. Now, you see that already happening here in the United States. They're starting to cut schools. They're starting to, let me look at what's happening in Flint, Michigan, the idea of dirty water. So there's lots of places with dirty water in Puerto Rico. Well, that's going to come here because the infrastructure is not being taken care of here. So our pipes that water's moving through, they're from like Civil War era shit. Like,
eventually.
So much of our infrastructure is falling apart. When we were in Puerto Rico, that infrastructure is falling apart. We were in the financial district, and I'm like, was this thing hasn't been touched since like 1980. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but it looked old. It just looked outdated. Like, this is the financial district, and because the infrastructure is just crumbling there. Like, there's no investment back to the people, back to the roads, the island itself. It's simply them, corporations taking, just extracting everything and just pooping and shitting all over the island. And you see that happening here in the United States. I really became attentive when I was there to how dependent the people are on corporations for their food and for their sovereignty. And then as soon as I got back to mainland America, I found myself in a supermarket looking through labels to make sure that there was non-GMO verified stuff that I was buying. And it just showed me who really owns everything. Who owns all the food? It made me think, like, they've taken away our sense of the sense that farming is important, the sense that being self-sufficient is important. You're reliant upon all these corporations for everything. Buying food in a wrap. When you leave Puerto Rico, the notion of opening a wrappery and eating processed food is a fucking joke.
Dude.
Because the food is so good there. It's so unbelievable. It's so flavorful. It's not what you're eating here. What you're eating here is some genetically modified nonsense. And the farmers that I asked, I said, I always hear that GMO stuff, genetically modified vegetables and fruits, the nutrient value is much less. It doesn't have the nutrient value. And they said, because of the soil. So when you're eating an apple or from an American supermarket, or you're eating an orange and you think that this is so healthy, it's the healthiest choice you have, but the nutrients that you think you're getting, you're not. It's a completely different ball game. And that just made me really sad that we don't have control of these very basic needs. The most primitive need is food. We need food and water, and we control neither. That is going to be a problem here.
Oh, dude, I trust our leaders to take care of us. What's wrong with you?
So you see that these corporations own all of the resources. You see in Puerto Rico, all of these corporations own all of the resources. Corporations are not very kind to the people. What it seems like is they're just going to keep shitting on you. Then you take action. So these protests in Puerto Rico, I know that last year I read estimates as high as 100,000 people attended the protest, the May 1st protest in Puerto Rico. That's a lot of people gathering together saying, we do not like what you're trying to do to us. And you saw how they were dealt with. They were dealt with tear gas and people getting beat with clubs. Beanbag getting shot at with the beanbag guns. And I think that will come here. Because what you're seeing is austerity measures being imposed in America. Like, for instance, my home state, Connecticut, there were talks of a Detroit-based hedge fund buying the state capital of Connecticut because Connecticut's in so much debt. That's insane. So we're already seeing the erosion starting. It's been starting much longer. People have been harping on this for decades now. But for me, it's starting to become super obvious where I'm like, wow, America really is in decline. Like, it's fucking really declining. Like, it's not, people aren't overemphasizing that. It really is in decline. Our country's debt is insane in the trillions of dollars. So look what they did to Puerto Rico. What do you think they're going to do here?
You're implying that our government is using Puerto Rico to incubate tyranny to bring back to the mainland. And that just is...
That was Mark's theory. So Mark has a theory that Puerto Rico is America's tyranny incubator. So they can test all of this stuff on the people of Puerto Rico and see, okay, how they deal with it. Because what you have to understand is if you're a tyrannical government, Puerto Rico is your wet dream, or any island.
Right.
Because the population, it's very easy to round them up because the landmass is so small. Everybody's right there. Well, there's nowhere you can hide. It's easy to experiment on the population and see how it affects the island as a whole.
Well, it's all easy to control as well because, communications in, out, power as well. You have control of all of that because right after we got hit with tear gas, what happened? Everybody's phone died. All the service went down.
We couldn't get access to our phones.
So ridiculous.
I tried to turn my camera on my phone immediately after I got gassed, and it wouldn't go. I remember hitting it so many times, record, and it wouldn't. I'm like, dude, something's up.
Yeah.
And then I did it again like several minutes later, and I got on, but it just seemed like there was a jam there for a moment.
Yep. And drones were falling out of the sky. We had helicopters. We had drones. It was ridiculous.
I got to take a leak real quick.
Opportunity?
This episode is sponsored by Monsanto. Monsanto providing you fresh, nutritious food. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Monsanto is this evil corporation. But let me tell you what. I've been to the South, and I know for a fact that some of those people need to be depopulated. So, Monsanto, are you making people sick?
Absolutely.
Are you killing a lot of people off?
Absolutely.
Are you somewhat responsible, if not very responsible, for the high cancer rates in America?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Monsanto. You are. Are you the devil? You might be.
You can make the argument.
You're the devil picking veggies. I can see you. You got horns. You got your stupid pitchfork, and you're trying to shovel with it in the soil, and it's not an efficient tool for you.
Eat this genetically modified cucumber.
Eat this genetically modified cucumber that has a low nutritional value, that actually will probably damage your immune system and make it hard for you to fight off viruses and things that are trying to attack your existence.
Just eat it.
Just eat it. Just fucking eat it. Just eat it is the new motto from Monsanto. Is just shut the fuck up and eat it. It tastes fine. Just shut your mouth. People in Africa are dying. Monsanto.
Just eat it.
Just fucking eat it.
Just fucking eat it already.
Just eat it. I want to keep plugging my sponsor, Monsanto, because I think that Monsanto is unfairly badmouthed quite a bit.
Absolutely.
The poison that you find in some of those processed foods, some of those vegetables, is not cheap to manufacture.
No.
Now, they're making money for sure, but there's a lot of really expensive chemicals in your food, and I think that that's disrespectful. It's like someone saying, hey, man, you put a bunch of caviar in my Lucky Charms. I didn't want that in there. Did the caviar belong with the Lucky Charms? No, it didn't. But it's expensive, and it's a luxury. It's a way to floss and flex your financial status. So don't disrespect Monsanto because they put chemicals in your food. Those chemicals they're pricey, and you should just be sort of happy that you're in a first world nation where you can have expensive chemicals in your food. And also, stop being such a fucking baby.
There's too many people on this fucking planet. I need more for myself, my family, and those who are dearest to me. So they kill those people off that I don't want to have around, and I want their wealth.
I want to take a lot of your wealth. People listening, I want to take your wealth. And what Monsanto does is they create a product, these vegetables, these fruits, that take people off of the face of the earth. I don't know what happens to you after you die. Who knows? Who knows? You think you're being depopulated? You could be being
It's an honor to find out.
It's an honor to find out. It's a fucking honor to find out what happens after you die. So don't for one second think, oh, Monsanto vegetables are killing off people. Are they? Yeah, absolutely they are. But you do not know what happens to people after they die.
And they're not killing people off immediately. You don't need a cucumber and die. They give you 30, 40, 50 years. You get to enjoy it. But guess what? It's been an honor.
It's been an honor. And Monsanto, they kill you slowly. They're not killing you like gunshot to the head. No. I mean, stop being a little fucking pussy.
They're not crazy.
They destroy your immune system over decades. And if you die quick, if you're like, oh, I had a Monsanto cucumber, or I ate a Monsanto green bell pepper, and you die immediately, you shouldn't have been here. You shouldn't have been on this earth.
Ooh.
So once again, Monsanto, they've paid us the most of any company. I mean, we got a traveler's check for $77,000.
And 69 cents.
And 69 cents. And then they sent us another check that was $6,666.69.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, Satan, you have a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
So Monsanto, they basically walk into a grocery store and look around. They're everywhere. They're
look down next time you eat. That meal was sponsored by Monsanto.
So you'll have no trouble finding one of their products. That's what they even told us. They paid us and said, you don't even need to really plug us.
Because we asked them, like, what do we plug? What specifically? And
they said anything. Just they said, go to the super. I said, Monsanto, how do I direct the people and make them aware of your presence in the supermarket? And they said, we basically own the fucking supermarket.
Tell them to open their eyes.
Tell them to just open your eyes and look around, do a 360, and basically everything you're looking at, it's from Monsanto. Great sponsor. They're great people. I love what they're doing. Agent Orange, really respect your work. So yeah, back to Puerto Rico now. We're at about 46 minutes.
Do you want to get into? We have so much to talk about.
We could do another one.
Okay, let's do two. Because I feel like we haven't even got to day one. What did we do while we were there?
No, we didn't. But I think we've done enough. I think
so.
I'm kind of exhausted after plugging my sponsor, because our sponsor, Monsanto, they sent us a bunch of food. So they pay us, and then they also send us a bunch of veggies.
It makes me tired, though.
They send a bunch of fruit. I feel
sick after eating.
And I feel exhausted and sick. I woke up and I had some Monsanto bananas. Obviously Monsanto doesn't make the fruit, but they do make the fruit. Their chemicals, their pesticides, they really bust me loose. I love to get a nice Monsanto plum and just sniff it, just snort it, and I get in all those chemicals, and it gives me a great high. It's like sniffing glue. So I want to thank Monsanto for being a fucking bastion of delight in my life. Monsanto, that merger with Bayer, when they merged with Bayer, I was so happy because I thought to myself, how could a company that controls the United States, how could they control the world? And I said, you're making moves towards world domination, Monsanto, and I got to tell you, I like it.
You take the makers of heroin and Monsanto, you put them together. That's called a synergy.
Ooh, my goodness.
Synergy.
When the pharmaceutical industry tag teams with the chemical fucking agrochemical business,
we're all fucked.
We're all pretty much fucked.
It's so fucking bad. Oh God, I didn't think the
R.I.P. to the American Cream, which is a IPA beer that Monsanto is developing right now. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Mark? Because this be part one of.
No, I'm in a good place.
Please review, rate.
Yeah,
we almost always forget. We don't plug ourselves. We hate it.
It's so fucking talk about stupid. That. It's so stupid. We feel bad because it's like, come watch my thing.
Come watch my thing. Come like it. Come leave me a review on iTunes. And
But it's like, guys, we have to do this because it's the thing.
You have to do it, or you're just a fucking loser. Yeah. It's like, you have no following. You have no base. It's like, fuck my following and base. Look at the shit that we make. It's better than those motherfuckers. But they're the ones who are like, I'm fucking plugging my shit all the time. So please, the Mark and Josh podcast on iTunes, review it. Tell us that we suck cocks or whatever the fuck you want to do. Whatever nonsense you want to do there. Just fucking review it. Make the algorithm say, wow, someone's listening to these stupid assholes. Review it. Because we're getting good downloads, but nobody's reviewing it.
Yeah.
Just review it.
We got one.
We got one review. Yeah. We need 69 reviews to be taken seriously.
But we just need 69. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Monsanto, and we're out of here. Thank you, guys.